My husband cheated with my sister-in-law and my whole life was ruined. 1:02 a.m. text exposed them, so I hired a PI, teamed with her husband and let the court handle it, but they never saw my final move coming. If this story pulled you in, please subscribe to Velvet Stories so you don't miss the next one. The message came through at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was up feeding our 6-month-old when my phone lit up with her name. Can't wait for Friday. Same hotel as last time. I'll wear that thing you like. My hands went numb. I stared at those words until they blurred. Then came the follow-up sent 4 minutes later. OMG, wrong person. So sorry, that was meant for Bennett. We're planning a surprise for you and I was texting about party details. How embarrassing. Bennett was her husband, my husband's brother. The hotel thing was supposedly about decorations. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened our phone bill. My husband worked in sales, always on calls, so I'd never questioned the high usage. But now I started looking at the actual numbers. One appeared 52 times in the last month. I called it from a blocked number. She answered on the first ring. Hey, baby, I hung up. The next morning, my husband kissed my forehead before work like he did every day. Love you, he said, checking his phone, always checking his phone. How had I never noticed? Love you too, I replied, feeding our daughter her bottle. That afternoon, I hired a private investigator, cost $800. I didn't have, but I needed proof that would hold up. Not for my heart, which already knew for the divorce lawyer. The PI called me 2 days later. I have what you need. They've been meeting at the Marriott downtown every Friday for 8 months. Want the photos? 8 months, our daughter was 6 months old. I'd been recovering from an emergency C-section while he was checking into hotels with his brother's wife. I picked up the envelope that evening. Inside were 34 photos, time-stamped, dated, undeniable. Them entering together, leaving together. One shot of them kissing in the parking garage made my stomach turn. I didn't confront him, not yet. Instead, I called my brother-in-law, Bennett. We need to talk in person. Come alone. He showed up at a coffee shop, looking confused. I slid the envelope across the table without a word, watched his face drain of color as he flipped through each photo. His hands started shaking around image 15. How long have you known? He finally asked. 2 days, I suspected for a month, but I hoped. His voice cracked. We have 2 kids, I have one, I said, and she deserves better than this. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then my brother-in-law said something that changed everything. My lawyer said if we coordinate our divorces and file together, we can protect ourselves financially. They've been using joint accounts. Your husband's been transferring money to her. We can trace it all. That night, my brother-in-law and I met with his attorney. Turned out my husband had been funneling $2,000 a month into an account under her name, money I thought was going to our daughter's college fund. The lawyer smiled. This is actually perfect. Financial infidelity, misuse of marital assets, and we have documentation of everything. We planned it carefully. My brother-in-law would file on Monday. I'd file on Tuesday. We'd request emergency hearings to freeze all accounts. They wouldn't know what hit them. Friday came, the day of their usual hotel meet-up. My phone buzzed with a text from my husband. Working late. Don't wait up, I replied. Okay, drive safe. Then I sent a text to my sister-in-law, actually about that surprise party. Can you meet me at your place at 800? Want to finalize details? Sure, she replied. Bennett's taking the kids to his mom's, so perfect timing. At 7:45, my brother-in-law and I pulled up to their house. We had our lawyers on standby. The papers were filed. The accounts were frozen. And in 15 minutes, we were about to serve them both. My brother-in-law unlocked the door with his key. We walked in to find her getting ready, makeup half done, wearing a red dress I'd never seen before. She saw us together and her face went white. What are you? She started. Surprise, I said quietly. That's when my husband walked through the back door holding flowers. He froze. The bouquet dropped from his hands, roses scattering across the hardwood floor. For maybe 5 seconds, nobody moved. Then my sister-in-law let out this small, choked sound. Bennett, I can explain. She started. Don't. My brother-in-law's voice was flat, dead. Just don't. My husband found his voice. What is this? What are you doing here? I pulled the divorce papers from my bag. My brother-in-law did the same. We'd coordinated this moment down to the second. You've been served, I said, handing the papers to my husband. My brother-in-law walked over to his wife, dropped the papers on her vanity. You too. The color drained from my husband's face as he opened the envelope. This is insane. You can't just actually, we can. I kept my voice steady and we did. The accounts are frozen. Every transaction you've made in the last year is being audited. The $2,000 you've been transferring monthly, that's marital asset misappropriation. My sister-in-law sank onto her bed. How did you? The text wasn't an accident, was it? I said. You wanted me to know, maybe you were tired of sneaking around, maybe you thought I'd just roll over and let you have him. She didn't deny it, neither did my husband. 8 months, my brother-in-law said quietly. He was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. Our youngest was 4 months old when this started. Bennett, please don't say my name, you don't get to say my name. My husband tried a different approach, turned to me with those eyes that used to make my heart race. Baby, we can talk about this. Work through it. Think about our daughter. I am thinking about her, I said. That's why I'm doing this. She deserves to see what happens when people betray you. She deserves to see her mother stand up for herself. You're overreacting. One mistake. 8 months isn't a mistake. It's a choice. One you made over and over. I picked up one of the fallen roses. Were these for her? For after your hotel visit. He didn't answer, didn't need to. My brother-in-law pulled out his phone. I'm calling my mother. She's got the kids. I need to tell her they'll be staying longer. You can't keep my children from me, my sister-in-law said, panic creeping into her voice. Watch me. My lawyer filed for emergency custody this morning. Given the evidence of your affair and financial misconduct, the judge granted temporary custody to me pending the hearing. You can't do that. Already did. You'll get supervised visitation Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 hours each. She started crying, not the pretty kind, the ugly, desperate kind where mascara runs and your face gets blotchy. My husband moved toward her instinctively, then caught himself, looked at me, looked at his brother. This is crazy, he said. You two are working together to destroy us. No, I said, you destroyed yourselves. We're just making sure you face the consequences. The lawyer had advised us to leave after serving the papers. Don't engage, don't argue, just serve and go, but I had one more thing to say. I want you to know something, I told my husband. When our daughter asked me why we got divorced, I'm going to tell her the truth. Not now, but when she's old enough to understand. I'm going to tell her that you chose to betray your family, that you lied every single day. And I'm going to tell her that walking away from someone who doesn't respect you isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. We left them standing there. My brother-in-law locked the door behind us with the key he wouldn't be using again. In his car, we sat in silence for a moment. Are you okay? He finally asked, no. Are you? No, good, we shouldn't be. He drove me back to my car. Before I got out, he said, thank you for telling me. A lot of people wouldn't have. We're family. I said, the real kind, not whatever they pretended to be. I drove home. My mom was watching the baby. She knew something was wrong the second she saw my face. What happened? I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, then pulled me into a hug. I'm proud of you, she said. So proud. That night I lay in bed next to my daughter's crib, watching her sleep. 6 months old and already her life had changed forever. But better now than later. Better she grow up knowing her mother's strength and her father's weakness. My phone buzzed. My husband, 34 missed calls, 18 texts. Please call me, we need to talk. This is insane. You're destroying our family, I love you. Think about what you're doing. I blocked his number, blocked my sister-in-law's too. The next morning I woke to pounding on my door. My husband stood there, eyes red, clothes wrinkled. He'd clearly been up all night. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. Talk to my lawyer. Please, just give me 5 minutes. No, I deserve a chance to explain. You deserve nothing. You had 8 months of chances. You chose to spend them lying. I love you. You love yourself. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. If you loved our daughter, you wouldn't have stolen from her college fund to pay for hotel rooms. His face crumpled. I'll fix it. I'll pay it all back. I'll do anything. You can't fix this. You broke it. You broke us. Now move or I'm calling the police. He didn't move. So I called the police. They escorted him off my property and filed a report for harassment. My lawyer added it to our case file. The next week was a blur of legal meetings. My brother-in-law and I coordinated everything. Our lawyers worked together to build an airtight case. The financial records alone were damning. My husband had opened a credit card in my name without telling me. Maxed it out at $12,000. All charges at restaurants and hotels, the same Marriott over and over. This is identity theft, my lawyer said, visibly excited. This changes everything. Good, I said, but she wasn't done. She dug deeper into the financial records. Found more. He's been paying for her gym membership, her car insurance, even bought her a laptop, all with your joint account money. We're talking close to $30,000 in misappropriated funds over the 8 months. I felt sick. $30,000. While I'd been clipping coupons and buying generic formula to save money, while I'd been wearing the same maternity clothes because I couldn't afford new ones. Can we get it back? Most of it. And I'm going to make sure he pays for every penny in the settlement. The emergency custody hearing from my brother-in-law's children came first. My sister-in-law showed up with an expensive lawyer her father had hired. She wore a conservative dress and had her hair pulled back, playing the devoted mother. But the evidence was overwhelming. Text messages between her and my husband discussing their plans. Calendar entries for hotel visits, marked as gym or dentist appointment on the same days she'd told her husband she was taking their kids to playdates. Bank statements showing she'd been using joint account money for her affair. The PI had done more than just photograph them at hotels. He'd tracked their movements for 2 weeks. Documented that on days she told Bennett she was taking the kids to music class, she'd actually dropped them at daycare and gone to meet my husband. The kids had spent an extra 18 hours in daycare that month alone. Hours she'd lied about. The judge's face got harder with each piece of evidence. "Mrs. Holloway," he said, "you stand accused of not only infidelity but financial misconduct and deception that directly impacted the welfare of your children. You consistently lied about your whereabouts, leaving your children in daycare for extra hours while conducting an affair. Your Honor, one mistake shouldn't." This wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern of choices that prioritized your extramarital relationship over your responsibilities as a mother. He granted my brother-in-law primary custody. She got supervised visitation 4 hours a week. She sobbed in the courtroom. Her lawyer tried to comfort her. I felt nothing. Just thought about those kids, confused and hurt, wondering why mommy kept leaving them places so she could be somewhere else. My divorce hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In the meantime, my husband tried everything. He showed up at my mother's house. She called the police. He sent his parents to beg on his behalf. I refused to see them. His mother called me anyway. Got my number from someone, though I never found out who. "You're tearing this family apart." She said, "No, your son did that. He made a mistake. You're being vindictive. I'm being smart. There's a difference." What about forgiveness? What about your marriage vows? He broke those vows, not me, and I don't owe him forgiveness just because it would be convenient for you. Our granddaughter needs her father. Then maybe he should have thought about that before he committed identity theft and adultery. She hung up on me. I added her to my block list. My husband hired a PI to follow me, trying to find evidence of infidelity on my side. He found nothing because there was nothing to find. I went to work, came home, took care of our daughter, and went to bed. That was my life. The PI's report actually helped my case. Showed I was a dedicated mother with no outside relationships. My lawyer was thrilled. This is perfect. It shows him wasting more marital assets on a pointless investigation while you're focused on child heir. 2 days before my hearing, I got a letter from my sister-in-law's lawyer requesting that I testify on her behalf at her custody modification hearing. I called my brother-in-law. "Did you know about this?" "Yeah, her lawyer thinks because you're also a mother you'll be sympathetic to her. They're insane, I know, you don't have to do it." "Oh, I'm going to do it. Just not the way they think." I showed up to her hearing with my own testimony prepared. Under oath, I detailed every conversation where she'd complained about her kids being too needy. Every time she'd called being a mother exhausting, every comment about how much easier life would be if she could just have some freedom, her lawyer objected. The judge overruled. "This is relevant to the mother's fitness and priorities," he said. I told them about the New Year's party where she'd gotten drunk and told me motherhood was a trap where she'd said if she'd known how hard it would be, she would have waited. Her kids were 6 and 4 at the time. The judge modified the custody arrangement. My brother-in-law got full custody. She got visitation reduced to 6 hours a week supervised. She screamed at me in the parking lot afterward. Called me a vindictive, said I destroyed her life out of spite. "No," I said calmly, "I told the truth. You destroyed your life yourself. The night before my divorce hearing, I couldn't sleep. I kept going over everything in my head. The evidence, the financial records, the testimony I'd prepared. My lawyer called to go over our strategy one more time. Remember, stay calm, don't let him get to you. Answer the questions directly, don't elaborate unless asked, I know. And the judge is a woman, mid-50s, divorced herself. She doesn't tolerate infidelity or financial abuse. This should go our way, should, not will. I hung on to that word all night. The divorce hearing was almost anticlimactic. My lawyer presented the evidence methodically. The text messages, the photos, the financial records, the credit card fraud, the hotel receipts totaling over $8,000 in the last 8 months alone, the gym membership, car insurance, and laptop he'd bought for my sister-in-law, the daycare records showing our daughter had been there extra hours while I thought my husband was working late. But my lawyer had found something else, something that changed everything. Your Honor, I'd like to present additional evidence. My client's husband told her he was working overtime to cover medical expenses from their daughter's birth. The C-section had complications, required additional procedures. He said they were struggling financially. She pulled out more documents. These are his employment records. He wasn't working overtime. In fact, he'd taken 14 personal days in the last 8 months, all on Fridays, all matching the dates of his hotel visits. The judge's eyes narrowed, so he was lying about working overtime while actually using personal days to conduct an affair. Yes, Your Honor, and here are the medical bills he claimed were overwhelming them. Insurance covered 95%. Out-of-pocket costs were $1,200, which my client paid from her personal savings. He contributed nothing. My husband's lawyer tried to argue for reconciliation counseling, tried to paint this as a temporary lapse in judgment. My client is willing to do whatever it takes to save his marriage, his lawyer said. The judge looked at me. Mrs. Holloway, are you interested in reconciliation counseling? No, Your Honor. Are you certain marriage is a sacred bond? I'm certain. He broke that bond, not me. The judge reviewed the financial documents again. Mr. Holloway, did you open a credit card in your wife's name without her knowledge or consent? My husband shifted in his seat. Yes, but did you charge approximately $12,000 to this card for personal expenses related to your extramarital affair? I was going to pay it back. That's not what I asked. Yes, I did. The judge's expression hardened. This isn't just marital misconduct. This is fraud. I'm granting the divorce on grounds of adultery and financial abuse. Full custody of the minor child to Mrs. Holloway with supervised visitation, rights to Mr. Holloway pending completion of a parenting class and psychological evaluation. My husband stood up. You can't do this. She's my daughter. She's also your victim, Mr. Holloway. You defrauded her mother, depleting resources meant for her care. You prioritized an affair over your family's financial stability. Sit down, the judge continued. Mr. Holloway will pay child support in the amount of $1,800 monthly, plus 75% of all medical and educational expenses. He will also be responsible for the full $12,000 credit card debt he fraudulently opened, plus any associated legal fees Mrs. Holloway incurred. Additionally, he will pay spousal support of $2,200 monthly for a period of 2 years while Mrs. Holloway completes her education. I hadn't even asked for spousal support. My lawyer had included it in the filing, but I'd assumed it wouldn't be granted. Your Honor, my husband's lawyer objected. That's excessive. Your client committed fraud and adultery while his wife was recovering from childbirth. He systematically depleted marital assets for personal gratification. If anything, I'm being lenient. The judge signed the papers. This divorce is granted. Next case, outside the courtroom, my husband tried to approach me. My lawyer stepped between us. Mr. Holloway, any communication goes through me now. You have my card. I just want to talk to her. 5 minutes. No, my lawyer said firmly. You've had months to talk. You chose to spend that time at the Marriott instead. I walked to my car without looking back. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel. It was done. Really done. My phone rang. My brother-in-law. How did it go? I'm divorced. Join the club. Mine was finalized yesterday. How are the kids? Confused, angry, asking a lot of questions I don't know how to answer. He paused. But they're okay. They will be okay. Yeah, they will. Listen, he said. I know this is weird, but thank you for everything, for telling me. For going through this together. I couldn't have done it alone. Neither could I. You want to grab coffee sometime? I mean, not like that. Just I don't know. It might be nice to talk to someone who gets it. I'd like that. We met the following Tuesday at a cafe halfway between our apartments. It was strange at first. We'd always been family, but never friends. Never just the two of us. The affair had bonded us in this twisted way. "How are you really doing?" he asked. "Some days I'm fine. Other days I want to scream, you same, I keep thinking about all the signs I missed." The late nights, she claimed, were book club, the new underwear that appeared in her drawer. The way she'd shower immediately after coming home, even in the middle of the day. The phone, I added, always face down, always on silent, always just out of reach, and the way they'd look at each other at family dinners. I thought I was imagining it. You weren't. We sat in silence for a moment. "You think they're still together?" he asked. "Probably. The affair was exciting when it was secret. Now that it's out in the open, they'll probably crash and burn. Guilt and shame aren't sexy." "Good. Yeah, good, but they were still together. I found out 2 months later when my daughter's daycare called. My husband had listed my sister-in-law as an emergency contact. Tried to have her pick up our daughter. The daycare refused. Called me instead. I was there in 10 minutes, shaking with rage. They showed up together, the director told me. Your ex-husband and a woman who said she was his girlfriend. They had your daughter's car seat. Said you'd approved it. I didn't approve anything, I know. That's why I called you. I filed an emergency motion that afternoon. By the next morning, my ex-husband's visitation was suspended entirely pending a hearing. He'd violated the custody order by involving my sister-in-law without court approval. The hearing was brutal. My lawyer presented evidence that my sister-in-law was an active party in the affair that destroyed our family, that exposing our daughter to her was harmful and inappropriate. The judge agreed. My ex-husband's visitation was modified. He could only see our daughter supervised with supervision provided by a court-appointed social worker. My sister-in-law was explicitly forbidden from being present. He missed the first visit. The social worker waited for 2 hours at the designated meeting place. He didn't show, didn't call, missed the second one too, showed up drunk to the third one. The social worker called the police. His visitation was suspended again. He's imploding. My brother-in-law told me lost his job. His parents are ashamed, his friends won't talk to him, and my sister-in-law still with him. They moved in together. Her parents disowned her. Karma is real, apparently. Over the next few months, we developed an unlikely friendship. We'd meet for coffee every week, sometimes twice. We'd commiserate about co-parenting with people we used to love, about the loneliness, about starting over. His kids were struggling. The oldest refused to talk about her mother. The youngest had nightmares. I got them into therapy, he said. The therapist says it'll take time, that they need to process the betrayal and loss. How are you processing it? I'm not. I'm just surviving. Getting them to school, making dinner, checking homework. There's no time to process. Make time. You matter too. He looked at me. So do you. When's the last time you did something for yourself? I couldn't remember. Exactly, he said. We're both so focused on protecting our kids, we're forgetting to protect ourselves. He was right. I'd been running on empty for months. Work, childcare, legal battles, nothing for me. What do you suggest? Therapy for both of us, and maybe, I don't know, a hobby, something that's just ours. I started seeing a therapist the next week, Dr. Patricia Hammond. She specialized in divorce recovery and betrayal trauma. Tell me what happened, she said in our first session. I told her everything. The text message, the photos, the financial fraud, the confrontation, the divorce. She listened without judgment. How do you feel about it all? She asked. Angry, betrayed, stupid for not seeing it sooner. You're not stupid. People who cheat are good at hiding it. That's how they get away with it for so long. I should have known. Maybe, but even if you'd suspected, what would you have done differently? Confronted him sooner, you still would have ended up here. She was right. The destination was the same whether I'd found out at month 1 or month 8. The betrayal isn't your fault, she continued. You didn't make him cheat. You didn't make him steal from you. Those were his choices. Your only choice now is how you move forward. I don't know how. Yes, you do. You've been doing it. Filing for divorce, protecting your daughter, standing up for yourself. You know how. You're just scared of what? Of failing. Of being alone, of proving right every fear you've ever had about not being enough. I started crying. She handed me tissues. You are enough, she said gently. You are always enough. He was just too broken to see it. My daughter took her first steps in her new apartment. I cried watching her, wishing things had been different. Not for me, but for her. She'd never have that intact family, that Norman Rockwell picture. But she'd have something better. She'd have the truth. She'd have a mother who chose self-respect over convenience. She'd have an example of what it looks like to walk away from toxicity. My ex-husband's visitation was every other Sunday, 4 hours, supervised by a social worker. He showed up late to the first one. Didn't show up at all to the second. The social worker documented everything. He's building your case for you. My lawyer said, if he doesn't complete the required parenting classes and maintain consistent visitation, we can petition to modify the agreement. How long does he have? 6 months. After that, if there's a pattern of absence, we can request termination of parental rights if you want to pursue that. I didn't want to pursue it. Despite everything, he was still her father. But I documented every missed visit, every late arrival, every excuse. The social worker's reports were damning. Father arrived 45 minutes late smelling of alcohol. Father spent majority of visit on phone, minimal interaction with child. Father canceled visit via text 20 minutes before scheduled time, citing work emergency, though later posted photos at a sporting event. My lawyer compiled them all. When you're ready, she said, we have more than enough to terminate his rights. I wasn't ready, not yet. Some part of me still hoped he'd get his act together. For our daughter's sake, he didn't. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into him at a grocery store. He was with my sister-in-law. She had her hand on his arm, a diamond ring on her finger. They'd gotten engaged. He saw me and froze. She pulled him toward a different aisle, but not before I saw the guilt on his face. That night, my daughter asked about her daddy. When is he coming to see me? I don't know, sweetheart. Doesn't he love me? My heart broke. He does. He's going through some things right now. What things? How do you explain to a 2-year-old that her father chose his affair partner over her, that he's too wrapped up in his new relationship to remember he has a daughter? Grown-up things. But I love you and that's enough. She hugged me. I love you too, Mommy. I called my brother-in-law that night. Guess who I saw today? My ex-wife and your ex-husband. How did you know? They sent me an engagement announcement, had the audacity to invite me to the wedding. You're kidding. Wish I was. Included a note about how they hoped we could all be mature about this for the sake of the children. I laughed, actually laughed. The audacity, right? Like we're going to show up and celebrate the relationship that destroyed our families. Are you going? Hell no, you not a chance. We sat in silence for a moment. Do you ever wonder if we're doing the right thing? He asked, keeping them out of the kids' lives. They're not being kept out. They're choosing to stay out. There's a difference, true. My sister-in-law tried to reach out once more through my brother-in-law. This time she wanted to apologize in person. Wanted closure. Tell her I don't care. I said that's what I told her. What did she say? She cried. Said she never meant to hurt anyone. They never do. The wedding invitation arrived 2 weeks later. Cream-colored cardstock with gold lettering, formal, expensive, completely tone-deaf. I threw it away without opening it fully, but not before I saw they'd scheduled it for a Saturday afternoon. The same day and time, my ex-husband was supposed to have visitation with our daughter. He canceled that visit. Sent a text through the social worker saying something had come up. Something being his wedding to the woman he destroyed 2 families to be with. I filed another motion. By now, my lawyer knew the drill. This is the 4th visit he's canceled in 2 months, and it's for his wedding to his affair partner. The judge is going to love this. She was right. The judge was not amused. Mr. Holloway, you've missed 4 out of your last 8 scheduled visitations with your daughter, including canceling one to attend your own wedding. Do you care to explain? My ex-husband's lawyer tried to spin it. Your Honor, my client is trying to rebuild his life. He's getting married, starting fresh at the expense of his daughter, the judge interrupted, who apparently isn't a priority in this fresh start. The judge modified the custody order again. My ex-husband's visitation was reduced to once monthly, supervised, and he had to complete a parenting course and 6 months of family therapy before any increase would be considered. He never completed the course, never showed up to therapy. His monthly visits became sporadic, then stopped entirely. 6 months passed with no contact. My lawyer filed abandonment paperwork. If he doesn't respond within 90 days, you can petition for termination of parental rights. He didn't respond. On day 91, I signed the papers. My daughter was legally mine, only mine. He'd given up his rights by disappearing. How do you feel about this? My lawyer asked. Relieved, I said honestly. I don't have to wonder anymore, don't have to hope he'll show up. She's mine. My brother-in-law was there when I got the final papers. We'd stayed close through everything. Best friends now, in the weird way trauma bonds people. Congratulations, he said, handing me a coffee. For what? For getting through it. For being strong enough to walk away when it mattered. I didn't have a choice. You did. You could have stayed, tried to make it work, convinced yourself that keeping the family together mattered more than your self-respect. But you didn't. That took courage. I started crying, not sad tears, relief tears. Thank you, I said, for being there, for going through this with me. We are family, he said. The real kind. I enrolled in college using the spousal support money, business administration. I'd always wanted a degree but got pregnant young, got married younger. Now I had a second chance. My daughter was almost 2, bright, funny, stubborn as hell. She looked like my ex-husband, which used to hurt. Now I just saw her. My brother-in-law started dating someone new, a teacher named Karen, kind, patient, good with his kids. She didn't try to replace their mother. Just made space for herself in their lives. I was happy for him. You should try dating too, he said over coffee one day. I'm not ready. It's been a year, I know, but I'm still healing. Still figuring out who I am without him. That's fair, but don't close yourself off completely. I won't eventually, just not yet. But I was lonely. I'd wake up some nights and reach across the bed, forgetting for a moment that nobody was there, that nobody would be there again for a long time. Dr. Hammond said it was normal. You're grieving, she explained. Not just the loss of your marriage, but the future you'd planned, the life you thought you'd have. That takes time to process. How much time? As much as you need. There's no deadline for healing. I threw myself into school and work, became that student who sat in the front row, took detailed notes, asked questions. My professors loved me. One of them, Dr. Caldwell, pulled me aside after class one day. Have you thought about graduate school? He asked. You have a real aptitude for this. I can barely afford undergraduate. Graduate school is a dream. There are scholarships, assistantships, ways to make it work. Think about it. I did think about it late at night when my daughter was asleep and the apartment was quiet. Maybe I could. Maybe this was my chance to build something bigger than I'd imagined. 3 years after the divorce, I graduated college. My daughter, now 4 years old, sat in the audience with my mom. She didn't understand what was happening, but she cheered when I walked across the stage. That night, my phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello, it's me. My ex-husband's voice. Older, tired. How did you get this number? That doesn't matter. I heard you graduated. Wanted to say congratulations. Thanks, and I wanted to apologize for everything, for leaving, for not being there for our daughter. She doesn't remember you. I know, I don't expect, I don't deserve. He paused. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry and I'm proud of you for building a life, for being strong. I didn't do it for you, I know, but I'm still proud. Okay, can I ask you something? What do you ever think about what might have been if I hadn't screwed everything up? No, I said honestly. I think about what is. I have a beautiful daughter, a degree, a good job, friends, a life I built myself. What might have been doesn't matter. I miss you. You miss who I was, the person who would have forgiven you, who would have looked past the betrayal. I'm not that person anymore, I know. Is that all? Yeah, that's all. Take care of yourself. I always have. I hung up. Blocked the number. My daughter tugged at my sleeve. Who was that, Mommy? Nobody important, sweetheart. Nobody important at all. That night, I put her to bed and looked at the life I'd built. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't what I'd planned, but it was mine. Earned through pain and struggle and the courage to walk away. My sister-in-law tried one last time to reach out. Sent a letter through my brother-in-law. Pages of apologies and explanations. How the affair had been a mistake. How she'd lost everything, how sorry she was. Her marriage to my ex-husband had lasted 11 months. He'd cheated on her with a co-worker. The irony was almost too perfect. I read her letter once, then threw it away. Some people think forgiveness is about the other person. It's not. It's about you, about letting go of the anger and pain. I'd done that. I'd moved on. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean letting them back into your life. I'd forgiven them for me so I could sleep at night, so I could build a future without carrying their betrayal like a weight. But I'd never speak to either of them again. That chapter was closed. 5 years after the divorce, my daughter started kindergarten. Smart, confident, loved. She asked about her father. Sometimes I told her the truth, age appropriately. That sometimes people make choices that hurt others, that those choices have consequences. But you're here, she'd say. Always, I'm always here. My brother-in-law got married to Karen. His kids adjusted. They called her by her first name, not Mom, but they loved her. They were healing. I dated occasionally, nothing serious. I was still figuring out who I was, separate from the girl who got married too young, the woman who got betrayed. The single mother fighting for survival. On my daughter's 6th birthday, she asked me, "Mommy, are you happy?" "Yes, baby, I am." "Good, you deserve to be happy, so do you, I know, and I am." That night, after she fell asleep, I thought about the text message that had changed everything. "Can't wait for Friday. Same hotel as last time. I'll wear that thing you like." It had felt like the end of the world, like my life was imploding, like I'd never be okay again. But I was more than okay. I was free. Free from a man who'd never valued me. Free from a family built on lies. Free from pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. The betrayal had broken me, but I'd rebuilt myself stronger, smarter, braver. I'd shown my daughter what it looked like to choose yourself, to demand respect, to walk away from people who hurt you, no matter who they are. That was worth more than any intact family, any perfect picture, any lie we could have maintained. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother-in-law, "Coffee tomorrow, I have news." I smiled. "Always see you at 10. Some family you're born into, some family you choose, and some family you build from the ashes of betrayal. Stronger because you survived it together." I climbed into bed, listening to my daughter breathe in the next room. Steady, peaceful, safe. This was my life now, not the one I'd planned, not the one I dreamed of at 22 when I said I do. This was better because it was true and it was mine. And nobody could take that from me. The girl who got that text message at 2 a.m., she was gone, destroyed by betrayal and rebuilt in the aftermath. This woman, she was a survivor, a fighter, a mother, a college graduate, a friend. She was enough. More than enough. And she was finally truly